Welcome back to the community, everybody, and thank you all for being part of it. Today, we are doing the Duke's 1960 Volkswagen Beetle interview. He sent in a self-interview, which I really appreciated. I love getting these. It shows what other folks are doing in the background. I really like what he's doing, using classic fab body panels. They're really great. Very nice interview, and I really appreciated it. And before we start watching it, check out my shirt that it was sent to me by Uncle Bon from Popularity Contest. This is a nice sweatshirt. I really like it. Okay, let's get to Mr. Veter Beater, the Duke.
Hey Slade, this is Duke Breyer, and this is my 1960 Volkswagen Bug. I've been restoring for a year and a half now. I grew up in Connecticut originally. I'm from Northern Maryland now. And my first car was a 1960 Indian Red Bug, just like this one here. And I drove it for a couple years. I paid $200 for it. And then I sold it and got rid of it. And I always wanted another one. As I got older, I wanted to redo one. And so this is I call it my end-of-life car. I'm going to go all out on this. Now, I remember growing up as a kid in Connecticut. I remember reading the J.C. Whitney catalog. You remember all the accessories they would have for Volkswagen? So I knew I always liked Volkswagens. My first car was a 60 Bug. Here, I've been collecting parts my whole life for this restoration. And I grew up in Connecticut, and I moved to Maryland in 2004. I met my wife, moved down here, and back in 2022, I sold my whole collection of Volkswagen parts because I knew I would never get around to it. But eventually in 2022, right after I sold my whole collection, I sold my whole collection in October of 21. August of 2022, this came up on Facebook Marketplace in Frederick, Maryland. And I remember watching it, and I was like, I looked at it, I said, that'll sell, because he was asking like $6,500 for it. And I watched it for a month, and the price fell. He knocked $1,500 off it. He wanted $5,000 for it. And the pictures weren't that good, so I texted him back, and I said, you got any pictures? Does it have the original 36 horsepower and a split case transmission on it? And he said, yeah. He sent me pictures of it. I said, could I come look at it? Big mistake. Well, I went into my underwear drawer and grabbed $4,000, and I went up. And believe it or not, he had like over $3,000 in new parts for this thing. New steering wheel, new hella headlamps. He had a lot of rubber and everything. So I went ahead and purchased it. So here it goes again. Now I'm 2022. I started collecting parts for it, and growing up, if you knew back in the 80s, in the 90s, the parts for these things were terrible, especially body parts. They were all Clocker Home. They're just garbage. They didn't fit good. It was just like they stamped them out. Now they're making some really good stuff for these. So, hate to say this, but I'm $28,000 into this. Probably $22,000 just in parts. But I want to go all out on this. So here's the pan. Not too hateful. I'm going to be putting new pan halves in this. Wolfsburg West pans I have for it. Those I think are the best. I have every seal, I'm going to do all stainless lines in the tunnel here. I have everything new for this pan. It came with Porsche 356 rims on it, but I'm going to put the original Volkswagen rims on this car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this car, or the pan, upside down. I'm going to cut the bottom of that tunnel out because there's a company in Finland that makes the bottom covers, Viteran. I bought it. It's really nice quality. I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to replace all the lines inside of that tunnel with 304 stainless. Now, there's two different types of stainless. There's 400 grade, which if a magnet sticks to it, it's 400 grade. This is 300 grade. And a magnet does not stick to it. 400 grade will rust, 300 won't. So I'm going to be running all stainless lines up in there for the choke. You can see how this is welded in here, the choke. All new fuel lines. I have all new stainless lines I'm going to run on this. All new front end parts, new kingpins, bushings, everything. I'm gonna go through this. So you can see here, I got this car in September of 2023, and I started working on it right away. I work in a body shop. I've been doing auto body work my whole life for 43 years, and so I got the car running. I knew it ran really good. Here's the engine here, and it's only got 46,000 original miles on it. Now I know it's got original 46,000 because when I went to take the front drums off this car, Volkswagen used to stamp the month and the year of the part on every part, on most parts, and those drums were 1960, and I know this car was a February 1960 car. And by the way, this car is all numbers matching, so very rare to get one that old, numbers matching. It runs really good. There's no end play in it. I'm going to run a Gene Berg oil sump on it. I have a new intake for it I got from John's import car in Westminster, Vermont. He had a brand NOS one, new old stock one in stock. I bought from him. I got all new flywheel, everything for it. I'm going to run a stainless exhaust on this. So I'm just probably going to, for now, rebuild the top end, clean it up. And there's a guy in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and I'm going to have him go through my transmission and see what it needs. So I redid the fenders at work because back in 2023, is October, I started on this. You can see here I had the body sandblasted by Bill Durbin in Broadway Blasting in Hanover, Pennsylvania. He's one of the best sandblasters out there. He can do body panels like this without warping it. You can see how good he does. So I had him sandblast the fenders for me, underneath and everything. He gets everywhere, and he does a really good job. So like I said, I've been doing body work for 43 years. I'm always learning. If you don't change with the industry, you're going to get left behind. I'm a big fan of using technology whenever possible. So like in here, that panel there was from that company in Finland that I replaced it. I seamed it right there, about 6 inches up there. You can see the body filler. Well, I used a panel bond in there, and if you do it right, it is strong. And I welded the ends there. So fenders, there was a dent in this fender. This fender was the worst of the two front fenders. There was some rust in here and a little bit of rust here, but these are the original German ones. They look correct. This fender here was really good shape. Had some damage, but not too hateful. There was some rust on it. The rear fenders, there's one of the rear fenders. They were just too far gone on the lip. I saved them because they are German, and eventually I will repair them, but time-wise, I wanted to keep going on this without stopping. And those are the aftermarket rear fenders there. I got this from another company over by Frederick, Maryland. I got these are aftermarket. I think they're Brazilian or Mexican. They actually fit pretty good. I'm impressed. I had to do body work on them. The hardest thing with here is I'm using the original snowflake taillights. I had to weld up the old holes and measure for the snowflake taillights. That wasn't easy. This panel here, I got from Autocraft. That's it. I got it from Autocraft in England, and it's a very good panel. The H panel in this was good, but this is, the stamping's a little off, but not bad. You can't tell unless you're really looking at it. Very heavy duty. I have to weld in the rear shelf still. I want to get some paint up underneath there first before I weld all that. Now you can see my goal was this winter to get everything welded structurally on this and mock it up. Now this last 2 days I've been mocking up the fenders, the running boards, making sure everything fits, making sure all my gaps are good. These are the same company that makes that rear H panel. Very good, high quality. Excuse me. But anyways, I had everything sandblasted. This is epoxy primer in here. And it wasn't too, this car was originally from New Mexico, and I didn't want to believe it. I've always wanted a car. I waited for this car for probably 40 years. I always wanted a car that was didn't have a lot of rust on it. I knew they all have them, and I also wanted a car that somebody hadn't really welded a lot on, because a lot of people I don't think know how to line things up when they're doing body work. And I always wanted an Arizona or New Mexico car. And the guy that I bought this from said it was from Los Alamos, New Mexico. From believe it or not, an atomic scientist out there. I didn't believe it. I got it home, and I was going through the car, and I opened up the ashtray, and there was paperwork from the guy that worked for the government out there, and pretty interesting. And it's kind of cool. I always wanted a car from out New Mexico or Arizona, because that John Muir, he was the one that made the Idiot book. And it's interesting, when I sold all my parts back in 2001, that was the only thing I kept, was the Idiot book for all my stuff I had. But you can see here those classic fab running heat channels. The firewall panel fit very good. I made those panels up in the corner there. The doors were pretty rust free. There's just some surface rust on the inside. I had to make some panels in here. Those are those German cross members there. They fit pretty good. You have to work them a little bit. The rear shelf was pretty good, and you can see. Those are Wolfsburg West running boards. The car came with new running boards. They didn't fit good. They were cheaper ones. I got these bare because in case I had to cut or weld any of these, I wanted to fit them to the car, but they actually fit really good. You can see how they fit up good there. And you can see I chipped the paint there because I had to fit it down there a little bit. Because a lot of these aftermarket fenders right here, they flare out, and you got to bend them in, because if you don't do that, the restoration looks terrible after everything's said and done. So you can see how you do epoxy primer first, and then your body filler on top, and then I'm gonna do high build poly epoxy or poly primer on it. So my goal was from September to springtime to get it all structurally welded, and I did all that in my time frame. I've been working a couple hours every night. I work full time, and I made those patch panels there. And it's a good thing I replaced all the panels that I did, because there was a lot more rust on this car. Even though it was from New Mexico, there was a lot more rust underneath than I would like to have. It looked good until you started cutting it open and everything. You could see the rust. So these classic fab heater channels, very, very heavy duty, nice quality. They bolted up good. They will bolt up to the Wolfsburg West floor pans really nice, because I test fitted those already. So Bill Durbin from Broadway Blasting, he did the blasting. That Viteran Wolf parts, I bought the Wolf parts rear bumper mount areas. They were very good. They fit really good. I bought classic fab parts. They fit pretty good. The Autocraft parts were very good. And I heard later on BBT is coming out in the next couple months with new rear fenders for this. So I might be buying those. And BBT is making quarter panels. Hopefully in the next year or two they can make quarter panels. Now if I'd known that, I would have waited and bought them, because I had to make all of this up in here. I had to make a lot of that. Those are the Wolf parts there. It looks ugly now, but that's what you got to do to make it look good up underneath. But that would have saved me a ton of time. I could have just put the quarter panel on, and I would have been done in a week on each side. But I had to hand make all that. That was all rusted up in there on those mounts. So I took it off the pan twice. I cut all the rust out. I put the heater channels in, and then I dropped it back down on the pan to make sure all the bolt holes lined up perfect. I trammed everything while I was putting them in the car, and then dropped it down on the pan. A lot of guys will start with the pan first. I'm going to do the pan last, because that acts as a jig for when I drop that back down. I knew I was right with those, where everything lined up. I'm a stickler for lines. You can see my door gaps. actually made them better than what the car was when I got it. They were really fat. I kind of closed them up a little bit, not much. But I want the car to look nice, bodywork wise. I'm gonna, if you look down the side of that, everything looks right. The fenders look correct. The door gaps look correct. The in and out of the gaps look correct. The running boards look nice. So I know the hood fits at the original 4 tab. I have probably 40 hours just in the hood because it was cracked in the front here. It was cracked up by where where it stops there. Did all that. And just blocking this, the brown parts is really hard. You got to know what you're doing. I know the deck lid fit. And the front end on this was really solid, so I got fortunate there. The only rust really was that front firewall and these kick panels here. Wolfsburg West makes a lot of good stuff. I'm going with West Coast Classic. I got a West Coast Classic headliner for it. I'm upgrading to the LED taillights. I'm going to keep this 6-volt. I'm going to update. I updated the pedals. I put those wider pedals in there with a roller pedal in it from that one guy that makes them. And on the, I'm going to upgrade the stainless lines. And these seals here, I don't know, I'm still debating if I'm going to cut these off and go with the Mexican style seals in the front and back. Because the only reason is because I know rust gets up under here, and these really don't seal that good. But I'm still up in the air if I'm going to keep these. They are in good shape. I'd hate to really cut them off. So I've been 1.5 years on this. I'm hoping to get this in paint by June or July or August this year. I just got to finish up the body work here on the sides, which that shouldn't be too hard. I wanted to paint the inside really nice. It's just really hard cleaning up all this glue. I had to clean up all that glue up there in the headliner. But body-wise, it was pretty straight. It looks like I got body filler on here. That's because I welded this patch panel in here. These doors really didn't have any dents in them. They had some, but I want them laser straight, so I'm going to do some blocking. You can see here how I'm blocking that out. I still got to work that a little bit. Believe it or not, the roof on this was really straight, and a lot of panels on this were really straight. The front panels were straight, so got fortunate, but it's still a lot of work to go here. So I'm guessing hopefully this year I'll have everything painted, and then next year, probably October, I could start on that pan, and that'll probably be about 6 months to get that all wrapped up. Hopefully in 2025 I can be out cruising with this thing. So this car, like I said, had originally 46,000 original miles on it. I'm going to keep the original engine, freshen it up. So I have a YouTube page called Mr. VW Beetle. The reason why I call it that is because that's what I used to call all my Volkswagens growing up, VW Beeters. Everybody had the muscle cars. I had the 36 horsepower Volkswagen that would take 0 to 60 in about 2 days. So if you go there, I have the progress from when I first bought this up until now. I've been posting on Facebook a lot just because it's you know, keep track. I wanted to make a album of this eventually in the future. I'm going all out. I'm trying to do this right. I reamed out those door hinge pins there. I got Wolfsburg West pins for it. Take your time on that. Drill them out nice and straight, because this bottom one I messed up a little bit on. I had to go another size over. But yeah, here we are, Slade, and I love your channel. I learned a lot from it. It's been many years since I've worked on one of these, because I pretty much got married in 2004. Kind of gave up on the hobby. And it's sad that when I was growing up, these cars never really went up in value. Nobody really wanted them. And now all of a sudden, in the last 6 or 7 years, it seems like they're going crazy price-wise. And they're making some really good parts for them now. And I hope they keep on doing it. Bob from BBT and Belgium, or I think it's Belgium. That guy is amazing. He's making some really good stuff. He's making new hoods for these now. He makes the front fenders. He'll have the rear fenders and the quarter panels. So with that, with all the other companies making their quality parts. These cars should be really you should start seeing some really good stuff coming out in the next 10 years on these things. So I'm 59 years old now. I'm hoping that in another 5 years I'll be restoring these after I retire. So I'm going to be doing high-end restorations, and by then they should really have these things down pat with body panels. So okay, Slate, that's my project, how I got into these things, and keep up the good work with your channel. And I want to thank Dino from Dino's Garage. He's been helping along. Bill Durbin from Broadway Blasting, Wilkesburg West. I've been dealing with them a lot. CIP1 is a good place to get parts. West Coast Classic is a great place to get your interiors from. They're going to be more expensive, but you're going to get the real German stuff. So BBT, Autocraft, Classic Fab, Viteran, and Wolf Parts. If you're going to do this, go with high-end quality parts. I know they're making some German parts out there now, so spend the extra money. These cars aren't going to be made anymore. They're not being made anymore, and they're just, do them right if you can. And so there it is. Hopefully in another year I can have this thing on the road. Okay, Slade, thanks.
Thank you very much, Duke, and thank you for the kind comment. I must say, my hat's off to you, my friend. First of all, finding a matching numbers 1960 split transmission, original motor, a little over 40,000 miles, that's rare. That is rare. And I'm glad it went to you. It went to the right person that is going to do it the right way. And you're right. Classic Fab, a lot of these places, they put out some nice body panels. They really do. I don't have the experience that Duke has, with doing some of these panels. So we kind of like do it the best we can. Duke's lucky he don't live close to me because I'd be badgering him to come over. Duke, thank you so much for taking out the time. When you get a little bit more work done and a little more ahead of the game with what you're doing, please get a hold of me. I'd like to do a part 2. This car is very important to this community. It's beautiful, and it's going to be done the right way. Thank you so much, Duke. I really appreciate this. I really do. If you would like to see your project or your VW air-cooled, it can be a bus, a Ghia, you get the point. If you want it showcased on this community channel, please get a hold of me at the email scrolling up the screen. And we will get you set up and tell you how to go about it so I can receive the video from you. It's very easy to do. And I want to thank everybody for being part of everything. As you can see, and you probably can't by the way the camera's angled, working on the Cooling Tin Part 2 complete installation video. So I still got to paint them and get that done, but we're just going to keep chugging along. Like I said, I'm going to have to start doing extra videos to get it done quicker. And I will go ahead, I seen comments in the last video, I was going to do a tutorial on spray paints. Not that I'm an expert, but do's and don'ts and tips and tricks. So I'm going to do that as an extra video sometime throughout the week here. I hope everybody had an amazing day. Everybody, bless you. Be safe and be well.